Here we are.
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Here we are, he says. That means it's go time here on the Sports Wrap for the second to the last week in May. And I'm not even going to guarantee that we're going to get another show in before the end of May, because next week playoffs get a little serious around the around the area with softball, baseball, golf, and track all going on next week. So yeah, we may not get to our show till Friday. Who knows? Maybe even might have to be a Saturday afternooner. I don't know.
Saturday afternooner, huh? That sounds
at the Muni on a Saturday.
That sounds interesting.
You never know what might happen. Well,
okay.
where would you like to start?
We can go anywhere you want to go. I stayed up late most of the week and watched this. California, here we come, and it hasn't been going well for them.
Yeah, the Twins. Let's see now. The last three series have gone 1-2. They won one in LA, they won one in Anaheim, and they just won one against San Francisco at home. So that puts them 3-6 over the last 9. That's not the way you're going to win a division. However, they're in the worst division in baseball, which means that their record at 26-24 puts them about 3 games out in front.
Well, and I'll tell you, the other thing is that the first week in June they play 4 games against Cleveland, and that is, I think, at that point in time, we'll see whether or not that pretty good pitching staff can carry them. But they're going to have to get more support. Correa's out with a bruised heel or something, but he's hitting
plantar fasciitis as well. They just announced not too long ago that they had done an MRI, and it's the heel and plantar.
Oh, that's going to take a while.
Well, the thing he said about it is, it's painful, but am I going to be damaging it? That type of thing. They showed him with the Theragun. Did you see him last night during the game? They had the Theragun. They were going after that heel. So I assume they're trying to massage the plantar fasciitis out of it, and maybe whatever's going on with the heel. So he figured by the weekend that he was going to be ready to go. We'll see with all the injuries that they've got going on. And I know Rocco's using it as an excuse, but I was looking at the New York Yankees and their injury list, and I'm like, we're no worse than anybody else. The Yankees, blah blah blah. We can't keep using it as an excuse. We got to keep bringing guys up. We hopefully have got the guys to do it at AAA. Edward Julian went deep on the opening in his opening at bat today. So with Jorge out of the lineup and Correa and
Max
out of the lineup, and of course Buxton was on base. I think, what did I hear them say, for the 24th consecutive game today?
Well, this is the thing about, and this is my good friend Patrick.
Yeah,
Brucey.
let's talk about that because I saw the article, but I didn't get to read it.
No, but he's been saying this for a couple of weeks. Don't get excited about him playing with the glove. He is a great hitter. He's a good hitter. He could be a great hitter, and this designated hitting situation at this point in time is just made for him. And then I watched him run bases. Talk about a fullback. I mean, he can really move.
Well,
so he's going to try to turn that single into 2, and sometimes not even blink and go to third.
Somebody said something interesting to me the other day, and I hadn't thought about it this way. But they said, did anybody ever teach Buxton how to slide?
No, I don't think they did. Head first.
Head first, bouncing off the ground. When he does slide foot first, it's always too late. He's slamming into the bag. I'm just like, okay, I know he goes fast. He's played baseball probably since he was, 5, 6? Seriously, did they not teach him the best way to slide?
And I think that's kind of what Russi is saying. If he's going to hurt himself, is probably going to be sliding into one of those bases or make contact, because he is constantly stretching and he's going from first to third a lot. He has his eyes on that ball, and if it's anywhere near.
And I appreciate that, but I also appreciate him knowing how to slide. At 28 years old or whatever he is, 27 years old, he should know how to slide.
Well, we got to get him a message.
Look at the San Francisco Giants today, lost 7-1. They left 15 runners on base in a 9-inning. And the Twins won 7-1. And they had, 3 errors, San Francisco today. You just can't win that way.
No, and 5 innings for 6 hits for Joe Ryan.
Yeah, a win's a win. Like you said, it's not pretty. It's not going to be a 100-win season. No. I think we knew that going in.
Well, last year there were probably about 30 games a win at this time of the season. They had a few more, but they had that streak in there that they just couldn't lose, and they were hitting the ball well, and they were going, and everybody just says, "Wow, let's see what happens. Let's see if they can maintain this." And right now, that's kind of what I'm looking at. Just how far can the pitching staff carry this team? Because right now, I think they're doing it, and it's
That's that, yeah. And right now, you're talking about the starting staff. I'm thinking about the relief pitchers
Yeah.
who have not. Well, they just haven't fared very well over the last few weeks. It's been a little touch and go. Emilio Pagan has looked Emilio Paganish like he did last year with us a couple of times. After he looked very good early on, Jax has 6 losses out of the bullpen.
I know.
And that tells you how close these games are because
they're all these 2-1 losses, and there's all kinds of them there, which tells you, your pitching staff's doing the job. You got to get a few more hits, and I think when I see Buxton, he's trying to pick up that extra base for that very reason. This is what he can contribute. I have to agree with Rusey on this one. You don't want him on the center field. He's going to run into a wall.
They've got these guys stealing a few more bases than we have in the past. If you can believe this, Rocco's, this is what, his 4th year as manager, 5th year as manager, whichever it is. And they were talking that in the last 5 seasons, the Twins had stolen like 332 bases. Don't quote me on the number, something in that vicinity. The next closest was in the 500s.
Ooh.
That's how few bases the Twins have stolen and try to have stole in the last 5 years under Rocco Baldelli, and he has, I think, relented. He's changed, and I'm going to say this: our good friend Mike Bolstead lost his gourd on me this morning about, not at me, about Baldelli, and that he's got to go. He has no idea what he's doing, but he's growing as a manager, and what I mean by that is he's allowing starting pitchers to stay in the game, even though maybe we question about when he takes them out and why he takes them out at times, and we're always going to do that. I don't care who the manager is, and the fact that now he understands that 4 1/4 inches or 4 1/2 inches that they gained isn't a whole lot. But in order to win games with the team that he has, they're going to have to steal some bases.
They're going to have to steal some bases.
They're still like last in the majors, but
also, it's one of the most exciting things in baseball. People go, "Oh, they're stealing," and it's just like now all of a sudden you have a first baseman involved, a runner involved, a second baseman, and a catcher involved.
Well, and the big thing is, it was basically it was out of the game.
Yeah, it was.
Nobody was stealing any bases.
Moneyball.
Nobody was stealing bases.
I don't get you paid. I don't pay you to get thrown out at second. I get paid for you to steal first or get on first. And it's just like, and there's a lot of logic to it. But stealing bases, I mean, you asked Jackie Robinson if stealing bases was an important part of his game.
Yeah, and like I said, you're putting the defense on edge. You're making them move. You're taking them out of being in their comfort zone. You're taking a second baseman and a shortstop that now all of a sudden are on the move, having to do things. They've got another thing on their mind, so maybe they're not going to field the ball as well. They were talking about Sonny Gray pitching on Tuesday night I think it was, and they were talking about how he was changing his delivery, where sometimes he would pitch very quickly, and then the next time it would be a slow leg raise, and then a follow through quick, and then sometimes it was a fast leg raise, and then he'd hold it, and then so that he had the batters off balance. And so when you've got the other team thinking, I watched the high school softball game on Tuesday night, and I don't know if the other team knew it about Gracie Swenson, that she likes to work fast, but I'll tell you what, there was batters. And then they would get into the batter's box. They were trying to get her out of her rhythm, and so there's some gamesmanship there.
And that was always part of the game, sure. But I like stealing bases, and there's a side view of Brian Buxton going from second to third, and I thought, at this point in time, if I were a third baseman, I would be thinking, is there a way out of this? Maybe we could negotiate or whatever, because and he's a huge man. I mean, he's big, and he's got all that speed. So I watched that, and also one of the most fearful plays in baseball sports, the way it used to be, is somebody attempting to steal home. And you watch them, and it's because you know, the catcher is distracted and the runner knows it's distracted, but you know, there is times like that, and you know, and bunts and forced bunts and all the rest of those things. I like that in baseball. Not everything should be.
They're just showing the matchups. The Twins got Toronto coming to town.
Yes.
Sunday. I have tickets to Sunday's game.
Oh, there you are.
And Bailey Ober's going for the Twins, but Jose Barrios, former Twin,
Jose Barrios
is going for Toronto.
Next to Nelson Cruz. Jose was the one I thought I'd miss the most because when he was hot, he really was a very fine pitcher.
He still is a very fine pitcher.
So I understand when you have a prize like Barrios and you want another prize, that's the prize you got to give up, and that's the nature of professional sports.
Toronto scored 20 runs against Tampa Bay last night.
Well, yeah, this is the other thing about it. Like I say, they got Toronto, and then they got Cleveland. Come back from Cleveland, they've got 8 or 9 real tough games there with one day off, and you know, we'll see what happens. Early in the season, I think this is 2 important series.
Yeah, going into June already next week. Pretty scary stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else baseball-wise that you've seen or?
No, but I'm glad that they're back, so I don't have to start watching a game at 10 minutes after 9 because you know,
I didn't even attempt.
No, I tried a couple times, and then Sue would come in and say, "Are you awake?" And I'd say, "Yes." "What's the score?" "What score?" So I'd be out. So she, you know, it's one of those things where if you could play early, and I, you know, like today at 12:10, so I was able to make a playlist and watch a baseball game.
Yeah, as long as we're on the baseball front, we might as well talk about Wyatt Ulrich.
How's he doing?
Had a couple of good games towards the end of last week, Thursday, Friday. Had a tough weekend. He went 0 for 9, but then 3 for 5 last night and 2 for 4 the night before. So batting average is right around 315, I think, if I remember right what I saw this morning. So he's hanging in there.
Well, it's kind of like when I sent him a message. I love it when you scatter hits, and I think that he's a very effective hitter. When, you know, that's that whole thing, hit them where they ain't. Well, I haven't seen anybody in a long time that could hit them where they ain't like he could, and you know, and he keeps that defense honest because they can't cheat. You know, they have to kind of play the position.
He got caught stealing for the first time this season last night. As long as we're talking about steals, sorry, Wyatt and Mom and Dad and everybody else out there. I didn't mean to bring up bad stuff. We were talking about stolen bases, so I had to mention it. So anyway, they're playing Sioux City tonight. Got Thursday off, and then I think they go back out on the road if I remember right, because they played 10 out of the first 13 at home. Seems like they should have to go back out on the road again.
Yeah, go Canaries. We're fans.
Go Canaries, I agree. And so I didn't look close enough at the schedule. He might very well play at home again this weekend. And I know we've got a trip planned, and we probably should address that, you and I, at some point, about whether you want to jump in the car or not with us, with the Elijah and I, to go down to watch it.
Eli's coming.
What do you got there now?
Oh, this is a little something. We're going to talk about Belmar Gunderson a little bit.
Who?
Belmar Gunderson. She's known as the mother of Gopher Women's Sports.
That's going to be our finale?
Yeah, she died.
She died, and so she's going to be our finale?
She is. But
and we're going to talk about Tina Turner, too?
We can talk about Tina if you want. Yes.
She passed away this morning, folks.
Oh.
A star.
You know, it's one of the things where when you listen to a lot of music like I do, and all of a sudden there you are listening to Ike Turner, and all of a sudden I listen to his music, and then Tina joined him and put the right mixture in that coffee cup. You know, and it just became a phenomenon. But when she broke loose, there was nobody that didn't know every one of her songs, and it's just, you know, she covered Proud Mary, and that took care of that. But she did an awful lot of other music. There is a movie out called Tina, and it's done on HBO or something. And this is kind of the precursor to the play that's going on right now. But you know, she's the kind of musician that you forget how much music she produced.
Sure.
Like seeing Willie Nelson the other night. He went on and on and on and on. 90-year-old man, and you just think, I mean, 3/4 of the crowd had tears in their eyes because he hit favorites, songs that they grew up with. Anyway, Belmar Gunderson is known as the mother of women's athletics. Back in the early 70s, women's sports got very little money from the U of M, and in fact, their budget was down to $5,000. Well, she got an invoice accidentally that said the Minnesota football team paid $5,000 for their coach's shoes. And so she took this to the president, and they says, well, this. She didn't take that, and she pushed back, and she got very, very powerful, and she went from, I don't know, I think they had 9 women's sports to, what do they got now, 13, 14, and they're just, and top caliber. But she's the one that started this all, it's like, I sitting there reading, and I started laughing, and he says, the moment was recorded in a video featuring Gunderson and other tennis legends in the week since her death, May 15th. Some of Gunderson's former students found themselves returning to the cliffs. So she went to her boss. This is basically how we blackmailed them, she said. You pay $5,000 for coach's shoes, and that's all you give all the women. We are going to tell people about that. She blackmailed them. She's the first one to admit it. And it's just like, and so it's just nearly 50 years after the confrontation. Gunderson is known as the mother of women's intercollegiate sports, credited with starting 10 varsity sports in the state's flagship university. Today, about 260 women participate in 13 sports programs, one through the athletic department. So, I'll tell you.
It's interesting. You spurned a memory. Do you remember that the Gophers used to have separate athletic directors, one men's and one women's?
Yeah.
When I was at the U, they had men's and women's, and then they finally got rid of that.
Why don't you suggest that to the school board? See what they do.
Yeah, that would. They were. I think we're the only school. They were the last one, I think, that had that. So.
Well, this is one of these things where we forget about, there was some cutting edge women that were responsible for this all happening. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And Belmar Gunderson, she must have been a dandy. And the way people talk about her, she was a force to be reckoned with. I like those kind of people, and so do you. And it's just, I just wanted to make sure that got out there a little bit.
Good enough?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk hockey.
We do that.
What's going on with the Dallas Stars?
They got all beat up, and it's, and each game I thought, okay, here they'll come back, and in fact, the second game I watched pretty much the whole thing, they were ahead, and then it kind of all fell apart.
Is it a running out of gas thing?
It might be, I think I really kind of think that the Wild took a little bit out of them, and Dallas has had an up and down season.
I think the Kraken took a lot out of them.
The Kraken took a lot out of them. It's and
I'm not saying Vegas has had any easy way, but Edmonton's not a heavy team, if I can use that term. They're not going to come out and bang the living jeebers out of you like the Kraken did with Dallas. Edmonton's is a different animal, and you're right. I think the Wild tried to play heavier, and so maybe took a little bit out of Dallas. But last night I turned the TV on. I got home, turned the TV on, and it was already 1-0, and bam, it was 2-0, and bam, it was 3-0, and Ottinger was out of the game, and Ben takes the stupid penalty. A match penalty at 1:53 the first period. What does he think? What is he thinking?
What is anybody thinking? Or they're not, and and it's one of those things. You want your athletes to play aggressive. That's the nature of the game, but you have to have them playing with a little bit of sense because it is the game.
I call it class.
Yeah, a little style.
Max Domi comes over and took a swipe at that guy. The biggest guy, I couldn't believe it. I've never seen, I shouldn't say never, but pretty close to never. I've never seen a hockey player get whacked 3 times and not fight back, just stand there and take it. So Domi comes over, cross-checks him, and he kind of smiled at him, and Domi came in and started going to wail on him, and he just stood there and took it, and he got a 2-minute penalty.
He got a 2-minute penalty, yeah.
And I'm like, and even the announcers on ESPN, why? What did he do? And they showed the replay, and he kept just, his hands were down,
Well,
okay.
they didn't know whether to call it a cross check or a high check because the guy is so big. It came up that high, but they like I say, at this point in time in this tournament, what it is, you would think that you're going for the win, and when there's a need for physical, action. You should have the people to do it, and Dallas generally did, but they might have been. Stauber wasn't a shooter. He wasn't near as effective against.
He's getting old.
He's getting old. Oh no! Well, I'm not going to tell him that. He's still pretty good.
He's still pretty good. I'm just mixing, stirring the pot here. Okay, let's go to the other side of the ledger.
Yes.
What's in the water in South Florida?
Zip, and they're just really taking them apart. They're thinking about bringing brooms to the next game to cover
Tonight?
the sweep, and so there was no doubt in my mind the first time I saw Florida play that they were going to be somewhere in this mix because they skate so well, they're so fast. You know, when you see one team, the skating, and the other team looks like it's standing still, that's how quick this team is. And I think they showed it the last two series.
But you would think, after taking Boston out, and you're kind of like, wow, we did it. They were going to be a letdown. And then they took Toronto out, right?
Yeah.
And you'd be like, wow. They took the blue team out and everything's going to be they're going to run out of gas, and maybe it's Carolina who's run out of gas, and of course I'm talking about not just about the Florida Panthers, but I'm talking about the Miami Heat as well.
Even beginning of the year when we were taking a look, the Panthers, what did they run off? 12 or 13 or 14 straight games.
Somewhere in that point, I know they had to go, but they were so bad early.
Yeah.
They couldn't find their way, and it just. I don't know. You got to get hot at the right time.
Well,
right?
and I guess that's it. But I'm going to say the other thing is that it really should be a good final if Vegas.
It should be, but then everything we've ever said, we've been talking about this for almost 2 months now. It's like, well, this is going to be, and then it's totally the opposite. Bobrovsky, the goaltender for Florida, has been out of his mind. He just he stopped the last 110 out of the last 111.
That's not bad.
That's not too shabby.
No.
As I like to say, and so I suspect Carolina. This game is in Florida. Florida's looking for the sweep. I think Carolina wins it, gets it back to Raleigh, and maybe goes to Game 6. I think Dallas is done. I think Vegas wins this in the fourth game.
Yeah.
They look beat. They look tired. They look exhausted. Maybe they got one final.
Yeah, they might.
Out of them, but
the Celtics found one. So it happens.
Yeah, the Celtics found it. It was one of those games, and I'll say I didn't watch a lot of it, but I watched some of it. And Boston got incredibly hot in the third quarter,
They did,
and they hit 4 or 5 threes in about a 4 or 5 minute stretch, and it was just like, okay, I don't think Miami can overcome this. And they hung in there, but it just wasn't to be. I think Boston goes and wins. The Celtics win Game 5 at home, and then Miami finishes them off in Game 6. I just don't see it going. It doesn't go any further
It's
than
so hard to do this 3 games down. It's only been done once or twice before.
Never in basketball.
Oh, okay.
In hockey and baseball, but never in a basketball.
Well, there's always the first, I guess.
At least I should say this. I'm going to preface this because I don't know for sure. Never in a conference championship series. I know that for sure. Okay. I saw the thing the other day. Yeah, I mean, Jason Tatum and what's his name?
Well,
they combined for 26 points.
Well, yeah.
Combined. They should each be scoring 26.
No, Tatum.
Jaylen Brown.
Tatum got 31 last night, but he's got to get that many.
He's got.
He otherwise they in a couple of those games when he was getting.
Did you see when he got called for the push off?
Yeah.
And he gets called for the offensive foul. He's like, what? And I'm like,
oh, he does that all the time.
Okay.
They get up in there.
All right, you're done. I can't talk to you anymore, Jason Tatum. You're on my poop list.
Well, there are the arms, and so he knows who those referees are.
And the announcer says, didn't Michael Jordan get away with that a couple years ago? And I'm like, yeah, but he did it a little more subtly. It was down like in here, not up here.
No, but you're absolutely right. I see that and you think, ooh, and he's. What I do?
I have been enjoying listening to the announcers a little bit with their analysis about the calls and this. It seemed like in the past you didn't hear the color guys jibber jabbering so much about the officials or whatever, but these guys are former head coaches. And they know about working the officials,
and they know all these officials,
and they know all the officials. And so anyway, NBA would love to see the Eastern Conference Finals go about 6 games because Denver took care of business against the Lakers, and despite LeBron James's best effort in Game 4, Denver just, I don't know.
Well, right now Denver has a chance to take a little break, and they're going to take a little break.
Yeah, they got another week.
They got another week off yet.
Finals will not start until June 1st, so they're going to have they'll have 10 days off.
Well, they deserve it.
I don't know if that's good or bad though at this time. When you're playing this well, when you're playing this well, you think they could call up like the Timberwolves or a team in the whatever and say,
scrimmage?
"Can you guys come to Denver? We'll pay you. We'll put you up some good food, but we need some we need some action. We gotta get bumped around a little bit because whether they play the Celtics or Miami, they're going to get bumped around a little bit.
They are.
So,
they are.
Okay, Miami wins it in.
It might go 6.
It might go 6.
It might go 6.
Okay. Carolina going back to hockey. Carolina
They're
gonna win.
done.
They're done.
They're
Doesn't
done.
happen.
No.
Dallas is done. So both Stanley Cup conference finals are going to go 4 games each.
I think so.
I can't believe the officials.
And that's when I got you got 2 teams.
I can't believe the officials are going to miss out on money for games.
You've got 2 teams that are carrying around a bushel basket full of brooms. If you had a great big barrel of brooms in Miami,
I'd be rich.
You'd be rich.
I'd be rich. Standing outside the arena selling those son of a guns.
Selling brooms. Yeah. It's an exciting time in sports right now.
It is.
It really is.
And it really kind of scary because we say it's exciting because it's coming down to the finals, but you know, a couple weeks ago we were watching. There was like 4 games of basketball per night and 4 games of hockey per night. You were getting like okay, can I keep it all straight of what's going on? Now it's just kind of down to 1 game each per night. And Eli said to me the other day, "When are the Wild going to play?" And I'm like, "Buddy, they lost. They're not going to play again until October." And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "I know. It's not perpetual. They don't play. They don't play forever.
No, and that's
only the best of the best get to play.
Only the best of the
for
best
an
get to
extended
play.
period of time."
But you know, my wife caught me watching a rugby match here a couple years ago, and she walked in. She says, "Uh-oh, winter sports is done, huh? Never mind." So you find a way. And it's summertime. We can take just a bit of a break and listen to good music and dig some blues.
Talk a little football, if I might.
We could.
The NFL has decided that if you fair catch a ball inside the 25-yard line, you get the ball at the 25-yard line. Are you a fan of this decision?
I'll tell you, one of the things that people ask me when we played, especially at the college level, what were you most afraid of? And I was most afraid of these great big horses that could run like gazelles, smacking you. And it's just it's a big super collision at the midfield. So if they can take back a little bit of those hits, I guess I'm not against it.
So my question to you is the NFL too proud? And I'll say it that way. Are they too proud? They obviously want to take the kickoff out of the game.
Yeah.
To me, okay? It seems like that. So the XFL puts the kicker where the kicker is at, and then they put the guys down so they can't
return it.
Well, they can't go full speed, so there's still a play, and the ball comes down and they can't run until a certain time and whatever else to take away some of those collisions. Is the NFL too proud to adopt that because the XFL came up with the idea?
Well, no, but when you're covering a kickoff and covering a punt, they are 2 different things because you have that 10 yards of acceleration before you even start looking for a target on a kickoff. Punt, you're busy. And so you're not going to get off until at maybe 2 or maybe even 3 seconds from the time that the ball is snapped, maybe even 4 seconds depending. So there is going to be a hesitation before you go down and nail that guy.
If the NFL is really, and this is dead serious, there's no sarcasm in this statement at all, and you know how I like a good dose of sarcasm in my comments on this show, but I will say this. If the NFL was really truly concerned about safety for football players, then they would put in the Canadian football rule for the punt receiver that you cannot be within 5 yards of the guy or it's a penalty, because some of these guys get absolutely freight
right in their face.
They are standing still and they are getting hit by a guy who is going absolutely 100 miles an hour. Okay. He's going full speed. He's running 20 miles an hour and he hits that target that's not moving
Yeah.
at 20 miles an hour. Now you're going to tell me that
absolutely
you're telling me you're worried about the safety of these concussions and everything, and then you're going to let that play continue to happen in the NFL? It's so.
Well, you know, and regardless of what's going on here, there's still plenty of people getting hurt with neurological injuries, and it's just.
And I'm not advocating that we got to shut football down or anything, because I think there's those people out there that think that we should because of what you just mentioned. But
Well, that being said, when I played football, there was nothing more fun than getting a good hit.
Oh.
That's what I live for.
We talked about this, about Eli talking about making good contact with the ball, and it felt, there was nothing like better than a football hit when you meshed in there and you felt the air come out of his body and you wrapped him up and you threw him to the ground. Tackled him to the ground, brought him to the ground. I'm telling you, George, I can hardly talk about it because it was that pretty.
Oh, I knew my mother was watching her. I wanted to do her proud.
Because she was mad because she never got to play football.
No, she wasn't. But she was a good fan.
Like I said, there are certain things in sports that are just that, and like I said, it wasn't to try to hurt the other guy. No. It was to make that perfect tackle. It's like a baby. It's just like,
and it was like and that's exactly right. You practice this form tackling, this consistent tackling, and even now when we watch a game, look at a perfect form tackle. His shoulders just above the knees. He's got control of the legs, and the whole body follows. That's kind of the way we trained it, and that's the way it should look.
Are we going to Green Bay in April of 2025? For the NFL draft? The NFL draft is going to be taking place in Green Bay in April of 2025. So it's in Detroit in 2024. It's in Green Bay in 2025.
Yeah, if I'm still around, I wouldn't mind doing that. I've been to Green Bay before. It's quite a place.
Still around.
Yeah.
Well, Mike and I thought about going to Kansas City. We had like 10 hours to get there the morning of the draft.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's go. And I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Well, there's only 125,000 people there.
Yeah, keep in mind the big boss man's a madman. So
well, if there were 125,000 in Kansas City, how many are they going to have in Lambeau?
I have no idea.
It's going to be at least 125,000.
It might be the only way to get into Lambeau. So.
Who knows? Maybe a bucket list. I don't know.
Yeah.
The NFL draft is fun, but I don't. Maybe not for the first round. Maybe for the second and third round. Maybe the second night when things are a little less.
I got to say this about Green Bay. It's not an unfun town.
You've been there.
I have. Yeah.
You've enjoyed the town.
I was quite a bit younger, but I like the attitude. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we talked a little football there.
Yeah.
We got basketball, hockey out of the way. Shall we talk a little softball from this past weekend?
Yeah, that didn't go so well.
Yeah.
The Gophers.
Disappointing for the Gophers.
I think it was.
I think losing to McNeese State is not what you want to put on your resume, and lost twice to them.
Although McNeese State, they've got a pretty good program, and they got
a nice team.
They've got a good women's basketball program as well. So I have no idea where it's at, but
16 teams are into the Super Regionals for this coming weekend.
Yeah.
13 of the home seeds made it. The shocker of it all was UCLA. They were the number 2 seed in the nation. They lost their first game and they lost their second game. The number 2 team in the nation gone in 2 games on their home field.
They're California kids. They got other things to do. The summertime's coming. It's time to go surfing. Catch some waves.
That's not going to pass muster with the UCLA coaches, man.
No, probably not.
LSU was number 10 and Arkansas number 11. Those are the 3 teams that got booted out. I think, if I remember right, Arkansas, Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns made it through, and San Diego State. I thought, San Diego State from the men's basketball tournament, they come through, and you never know. So
no, and they were good last year. Oklahoma,
Oklahoma's the number 1 seed. They're in. They. It's not pretty. They didn't treat anybody nice.
When they say a lot of it's in the pitching, it is for Oklahoma.
Yeah, absolutely. Lacrosse finals, semifinals, and finals, of course, Memorial Day weekend. They're always on. I caught a little bit of it. the Big Ten actually has Penn State into the Final Four.
Well, and that's I could bring this point up just a little bit because we lost a great football player in Jim Braun the other day, and he was an All-American lacrosse player and one of the finest in the country. And I kept on thinking, and they showed some pictures of him running around with that club, and I thought, if that doesn't scare the bejesus out of you, nothing will. He set an imposing picture, and on top of that, he was the most incredible football player I ever witnessed. So.
I think I told you last week that I went and watched lacrosse. Maybe I didn't. Anyway, I was sitting with our good friend Josh Koscheck.
Oh, Joshy.
Oh my gosh, he hasn't changed a bit. He's 40 years old now. And he hasn't changed a bit. Anyway, his stepdaughter plays lacrosse for Grand Rapids. So these girls are running down the field and they're twisting that stick, and I'm like, do they twist the stick because that's how they can run because they got to hold the ball, or do they have to do that? No, they have to do that. It's like dribbling in basketball. You have to twist that thing. He said,
didn't know that.
But the ball would fall out because it doesn't. You got to give it some force to so it'll sit in the back of the netting. And I'm like, is he BSing me, or is he telling me the truth? And I finally came to the conclusion that he was telling me the truth because every girl was doing it. They all were twisting that stick. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, you thought they had an infliction of some sort.
Yeah. So anyway, I learned something about lacrosse. It was only the third match I've ever watched, game of lacrosse I've ever watched live. The other two were the state championship games in like 2007. And we got talking because if you've watched it on TV, women's and men's lacrosse games are vastly different.
Yeah, they are.
And same in the high school level because the boys game that I watched for the state championship, I don't remember what the lad's name was, but he was about 6 foot and he was about 235 and he was the fullback for the football team. And when he got the ball, I don't think he was worried about twisting that stick. He was just worried about running people over.
Yeah,
and he did that. It was nasty, mean, and I loved it. I was like, I want to play lacrosse. I want to play lacrosse.
Well, no, it's a right combination between football and
hockey.
Yeah. Death Race 2000. It can be vicious, and in fact, in the old days, the native tribes, they might have 100 people on a team, and they would go and just brutalize each other.
I was listening to the Grand Rapids girls head coach, on a pregame interview with Sheldon. He was on the radio, and he said that it's the perfect game for basketball players.
It is.
And I went, what? He goes, there's screening, there are plays to be run, and learning how to get yourself open are all keys in lacrosse. And he says those are keys. So you think hockey players would be the perfect whatever. He says basketball players are better at it because of the picking part of it, because that's not legal in hockey to go, oh, you're not supposed, it's illegal. Yeah. But he said it's a game for basketball players. And
but I've always contended as a connoisseur of basketball how much alike hockey and lacrosse and soccer because they're all interrelated. Number one, they have a goal and they have a ball. Wrestling, no such.
Such thing.
No such. But you watch this and you see what hockey players are doing, and it's not unlike what basketball players do, even with the picks, because they kind of just get a little bit closer. Yeah.
Preakness Stakes was this last week. Did you watch?
I watched.
I missed.
There was only 7 horses, so it didn't take long.
There was lack of collisions there, but what a finish!
Well, it was a great finish. The problem of it is the guys whose horse won the race before that, they had to euthanize his other horse, and so. I tried to. These guys, they know these animals, and they got to be close to these animals. And to see them, on your instruction, to be put down a young animal like that's. So but I did hear something the other day. They were thinking about starting a horse race league and a conference, and this was This was kind of, they were saying what would happen is we would have a lot better control over the health of the horses. And right now, every individual has it. And what they want to do is they want to have somebody come in, and this would be a traveling league, and they would travel across the country. And so I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they had something like that.
I know they put in some universal rules nationwide on how horses have to be treated now before, after races, those kinds of things, so that it's all uniform, so that what happens in Minnesota happens in Kentucky, happens in California, that it's all the same. And I watched a little bit of the pre-game to the Preakness, and I just happened to catch that part of it, and it was a very frank and kind of to the point conversation about what's wrong with the sport.
Well, and it's been coming up. This is not the first year this has happened. Hialeah out in California have just had, I mean, they lose 25, 30 horses a year, and people are just going to lose interest if it's going to keep on killing the animals.
PGA Championship this past weekend.
It was, yeah, it was. I thought it was a pretty good tournament, and Scotty was in the mixture of things at the beginning, but no, it was a good finish, and people came up and took control. No, it was a good match.
I'll be honest, you know who won, and I'm not even going to say his name because he's not going to say it.
No, I wasn't going to say it.
Anyway, as soon as it looked like he was going to be victorious, I just flipped the channel because I'm like, I don't really. Anyway, that's just one man's opinion again on things. I
as soon as he won, I thought Ringer's going to love this.
Ringer did not love that. That's for sure. So, French Open gets started this week, and one thing I can guarantee you, Rafa Nadal is not going to win his 15th French Open.
No, he is not.
He's not.
He's not.
He's injured already, taking himself out of the mix.
He's been playing since I was a young man, and that was a long time ago. So it's one of those things where, holy cow, I'll let anybody in.
I know. I saw him standing outside the door.
Yeah.
Man, when you get a Rennie Calder sighting, come on.
Yeah.
You know you're in the presence of greatness right there. So.
Yeah, just when you talk to him, look for puck dents. I always look for puck dents.
Well, he's got that full head of hair.
He
It's
does.
tough to see if he's got any up there.
Yeah, he's
on there. So, well, I don't know how we did it, but we got about 45 minutes in. Do we got anything else we need to jibber jabber
I
about?
can't think unless we want to talk about some of our high school sports and what's going on there.
Yeah, obviously we're coming to the end here. The Broncos softball team won yesterday. They're into the double elimination on Thursday. So
what are golfers doing?
Golfers sections next week. So girls Tuesday, Thursday for their 2 days. Boys Wednesday, Thursday. The track and field teams have their subsection coming up on Thursday, which is tomorrow, down in Aurora. I'm still debating whether I'm going to drive there and then drive across the range to Grand Rapids to do the softball games. See, he even rolled his eyes like, Mike did the same thing to me, like, what are you thinking? And it's just like, where else should I be?
I think you got to take an attitude like John Madden, #1, and get a bus.
Hey, yes. All right, I'll put that through the
do that
through the money people and see if they can come up with this. Baseball team is coming to the end of the road here. Regular season ends this week. Their playoffs start next Tuesday. So by the next time we do chat, a lot of the seasons could be over by the next time we have a show, and it'll be just down to the track and field kids that are going to state and the golfers.
I was listening to your radio show the other day. They were talking about inviting you to go with the fishing team.
Yes, the Bronco Bass Fishing Team has their first meet on Monday, on Memorial Day, down on Lake Cabot-Togama and Namakin. And Rich Ruddy has been trying to convince me that I should go out in the boat and do some live updates. And obviously there's some logistical things to that. It would be fun to go watch the kids fish for bass.
I'm just going to kind of predict, you're going to go back to working at the school, and that's great and all, but you've been having an awful lot of fun the last few years, and I don't know how you're going to substitute that. But
well, you know, as the athletic director, you're supposed to, an activities director, you're supposed to go watch the activities and be involved with the
Yeah.
kids. And so I hope that that's part of my job, is to go support the kids on the road
You
as
put
well.
more mileage on your truck than when you were calling radio.
No, I don't think that, but I do intend to get out to watch games that are not in hometown, because on a Friday night, one of the last things I want to be doing is not watching a high school game someplace.
Yes.
Whether it's hockey, basketball, football, blah blah blah, you name it. If the kids are playing on the road, I want to go be a part of it. I want to go watch and support and be there to do what I do, what I love talking about and doing. And if they could somehow fit calculus into that, that would be even better.
Yeah, you got to have a little calculus. I have a good friend over there, Dave Olson. He would talk about how valuable mathematics is, but he kind of, from South Dakota, didn't understand.
He's with that, before we get ourselves into trouble, we'll talk to you. Have a great Memorial Day, everybody.
Bye.